Hero Comics here, and it is time for the woke DEI devs and gaming to quit. For the past few years, games, especially AAA games, have been losing players, falling short of expectations, and live service games have been shutting down only after a few weeks or limping along for a while with 200 or so on players on Steam. Sequels and spin offs have come out that are nothing like the series they claim to be part of. Thousands of people have been laid off, millions of dollars have been lost, and many once thriving studios have been shut down. It's all because of woke DEI bullcrap and the live service push. Now, some people will be angry about me saying that, and they will try to say it must be something else. The economy, tariffs, bad customers, the excuses go on and on. But it's obviously woke DEI and live service bullcrap. I'll go through each one's effects, and that will help explain why things are the way they are in gaming and how to fix them. First, there's woke. Woke, for those that don't know, is a word that means having woken up to things like racism and sexism, or what you think is racism and sexism. Signs of wokeness in games include checked diversity boxes. They will put as many diverse people in games as possible just because. They may have no other reason to be there, so they have no personality other than their race or sex. Woke has made people fall asleep to other racism and sexism. You'll notice there are very few heterosexual white men in these games as playable characters. They're always victims or bad guys. Then there's DEI. DEI stands for diversity, equality, and inclusion. And while it's supposed to make things more diverse, it usually has the opposite effect. To be diverse, like Sweet Baby and friends like, your main character can't be a white man. She's usually female and probably a person of color as well. She will usually have a diverse group of gay/trans/disabled friends. Flags of these deviant lifestyles will be proudly displayed in the game, and the story will always be the same. Say it with me, they were victims and they are oppressed, and they are going to fight back against the man. I've never seen a woke DEI-filled game that does not have this story, except for fraudulent sequels. Now, I'm not saying that story cannot be used, but there are so many more out there, and many more character types, gameplay types, and many more ideas. Ironically, non-woke DEI games are more diverse than woke DEI games, and more successful. Many original woke DEI games get player counts on Steam of under 1,000 players. Non-woke games like Space Marine 2, Black Myth Wukong, and Stellar Blade get millions of players on Steam. They make millions of dollars. That's why woke DEI devs need to leave the AAA gaming industry now. Every woke DEI game, AAA game, takes too long to develop. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League took 10 years to develop. Dragon Age Veilguard took 10 years to develop. And both of these games are the worst of the franchise. They also cost way too much. Suicide Squad Kill the Arkhamverse cost $200 million, and it never made a profit. Concord cost $400 million, and it only lasted a few weeks. The industry can't keep losing some cash at this rate, and stuff is already happening. Concord was canceled. The studio that made it was shut down. Every trace of the game was erased from the PlayStation's library, and people who bought the game lost the icon out of their library. And this is a great segue into how live service games fit into all of this. Live service games are most likely started off as MMOs. MMOs are massive multiplayer online games. You would either pay for a disc or pay a subscription or both and play as a customizable character in a world that was on the game servers. The story and the worlds were generated by the developers, and these things could last for years. No wonder the greedy corporate conglomerates in the AAA game industry wanted to adapt them for their use, and they sure did. Online games bursting with content at launch became paper-thin shells, where if you want a new set of armor or a weapon or a character, it will cost you real money. Vast online worlds became small arenas. Deep characters became puppets that jump around and shoot and copy other characters from other, more successful games. In fact, they copy gameplay styles and tone in an effort to get the same popularity other games get, and of course, the same amount of money. They may even put woke DEI in the game because they were told that it would make the game more successful, more accessible. It won't. In fact, it will make the game less accessible. Woke DEI games tend to have a certain character design. Gaunt, big chin, big jawed, and androgynous women, and sexy hunky men. While we see this design, we avoid this. When we see this design, we avoid these games like the plague. We already know what the game is going to be like, and we want no part of it. Stories went from vast months of lovingly crafted fantasy to some paper-thin, cut-and-paste, politically correct lecture from a parasitic consulting company. So now we have games where there is only a few hours of story, a few characters at launch, simple gameplay copied from better games, and so much greed it's shocking. Another issue is all the work going into the wrong places. Suicide Squad Kill Justice, Kill the White Man, and Friends is a great example. You get 4 characters at launch. They all jump and shoot. There is a few hours of story and a cut and paste Brainiac boss fight after a better but still insulting boss fights with a corrupt Justice League. But there were like 5 types of guns from 3 or 4 different places, and each gun had like 5 stats, elemental properties, recoil. They made them so complicated. Then there was all the skins. Skins of characters we would rather play as for $24 each. Special guns that only worked for 1 season. And more paper-thin story for almost a whole year. To make up for it, they put padding in the game. They made enemies harder and your characters weaker. And months will go by without any updates. I'm convinced now that some games that were live service should not have been. What good did it do, Suicide Squad Kill the Oppressor? All it did was draw out the humiliation of the game. This is why woke DEI pushing devs need to get out of the AAA game industry. The games they make are unsustainable. Then there's the latest stuff. Charlie Kirk was a minister, and like any missionary, he wanted to go into the deepest, darkest, lost places and preach the gospel of Christ to the people there. Some people chose to go to other countries. He chose to go to colleges. He would debate people, and while he and the people he debated wouldn't always agree, the gospel was preached, and some people would leave having learned something new. Yes, Charlie would say hurtful things like transgender women aren't real women, and the homosexual lifestyle is forbidden by the Bible, but it was not to hurt people. It was to tell the truth. But because people's feelings got hurt, they spread lies about him. They said he was racist, sexist, every bad thing they could think of. And some out-of-touch man-child with out-of-touch man-child friends got so blind with anger, fear, and hate, they planned and committed the murder of an innocent man who was just talking. While many mature and intelligent people were mourning his death, many man-children were celebrating it. People posted celebrations of Charlie Kirk's death online, and some even asked for more people to be murdered. They acted like complete psychos. And then their videos were seen by enough people, including their bosses, that they started getting fired from their jobs. Then sob story videos started coming out, blaming everyone but themselves for being fired. And some of those videos were parodies of real ones. But the point is, people celebrating the murder of an innocent man are acting psychotic. Employers don't want people who act psychotic working for them. And that includes employers in the game industry. A developer from Ghosts of Yotei already has been fired for praising the killer and a separate killing. More are sure to follow. And the craziest thing of all, the thing that's worse than making a female character ugly on purpose, or copying a gameplay style because you have no original ideas, or blaming customers for what is obviously your failures in the game. You woke DEI pushing developers hate making games. Every now and then, I see posts online from these people that say things like, "Thanks for all the support for this game," while we deal with overwhelming noise. That noise is your customers screaming loud and clear, "We don't want this." Dustborn got under 100 players on Steam. All other original woke DEI games got similar amounts of players. Your fraudulent sequels do worse than other games in the franchise. Whenever people like you take over thriving studios, they rot from the inside out. The people who make the good games leave, and large amounts of cash is lost, along with the reputation of the studio. All the while, the new devs go on and on about how hate killed their games. Yes, it was hate, but not customer hate. It was your hate of what made the game series great. Your continued attempts to make AAA games that no one buys reminds me of Sisyphus pushing that boulder up the hill. Every time he tried to get it to the top, it would roll back down to the bottom. All that work, all that time, all that cash, all for nothing. And the boulder is only getting bigger, and the hill is only getting steeper. It's time for you to leave AAA. The great live service and woke experiments have failed. Time for new ones to begin. Those that don't want to be in games at all should be game journalists or something. That's a great way to get your message out without ruining games. Don't become a lore master, though. Those that want to stay in gaming should leave the AAA game industry. The audience that likes the games you want to make play mobile games and cozy games. Those are usually AAA or indie. Those are the kind of games you need to make from now on. They cost less to make. They have smaller studios with less people to deal with, and when they fail, it won't be as big of a hit. Maybe only a few $1 million lost instead of 200 million. Those that want to stay in the AAA game industry need to make changes. Most of your games star a gaunt, medium-sized female protagonist with a man chin, man jaw, and a man's body. Seeing as whatever you make fails, why not mix things up and use a small female protagonist with a man chin, man jaw, and man's body, or a large female protagonist with a man chin, man jaw, and a man's body, like Mrs. Freeze. Or go even more diverse. Make your protagonist an animal, or a monster, or an alien, or a plant, or a rock, or a basic shape. The possibilities are endless. And while you'll still fail, at least you'll be more diverse. Imagine that. I'm your webcomics, and AAA failure has gone on long enough.